Hey guys, welcome into the WCIA 3-in-1 podcast. Marlee Wierda here. No Brett today, but I couldn't be more excited to dive into today's episode because we are just talking hope and inspiration and all positive things. So, for starters, there was a really big announcement made today. We are recording on Friday, May 22nd, that the Illinois Athletic Department is going to allow athletes to come back on campus to start training. That will be starting on June 3rd. We'll get more into that in a moment. But first, I wanted to touch on maybe one of the most inspiring stories that I have heard to this day. We spoke to Bobby Roundtree today. It was the first time that he spoke to the media since his accident, which happened 1 year ago this month. So to give you a little bit of background, Bobby Roundtree, he is a Illinois defensive end that suffered a severe spinal cord injury in a swimming accident a year ago back in Florida. And since then, he has been making strides to recover and get stronger. He says that ultimately his goal is to get the strength back to walk again and regain independence. And his story is really inspiring. I wasn't here for a lot of the time that he was playing, but I do know that he was a very prevalent player and an impactful player on the team. Just to give you a little context, his sophomore year, so in 2018, he had 66 tackles, 12 tackles for loss. He led the Illini with tackles for loss as well as sacks. He had 7 in 2018, so he was a very impactful player for the Illini, as I mentioned, and had probably a promising future in the NFL. So for him to kind of go through this accident and, now not really being able to walk is absolutely tragic, but just the motivation and just his desire to get stronger and get better inspired me and a lot of other people out there. So we spoke to him today on a Zoom call. It was really great to hear from him and his journey about what he's been going through. So we are going to actually share his full interview with you today on the podcast. So here it is. Hope you enjoy and get to, experience just some of the inspiration that he shared with us and others today.
I mean, this week, it didn't feel like a year, actually. When my mom said it when I was at therapy, I was just like, wow. I mean, it's been a long ride. I mean, it's not finished yet, but it wasn't really like getting to me at all because seeing myself from the beginning until now, like knowing that I'm going forward, it feels good that everyone's saying I'm making big gains and it's only been a year. So it just makes me want to go harder, actually.
Before I open it up for everybody else, kind of tell us where you're at right now, where you're working, where your therapy's at, what you're doing on a daily basis, what your daily schedule's like.
So Mondays and Fridays, I go over on campus to Dres, and we do about an hour and a half, close to 2 hours each session. I go there, and then also every other week I go to Carl, but we're trying to get it to where I can go more, at least 3 days. The 3 days that I don't go to Dres, and then also me and my mom do workouts at home. When we're just sitting around, we just find new things to do that's gonna benefit me.
Okay. Well, I'm going to open it up to our media group here. And so I'll kind of let everybody know who's up and then who's on deck. And so I'm just going to go, I'm not sure what order's on your computer, but mine, I'll start. Nico from Channel 15 here in Champaign, you're up. And Joey Wagner, you're on deck.
Hey, Bobby, great to see you. I've gotten to see you around campus a couple times at Jock Jams and Pro Day. You have that same smile that you've always had and that same general demeanor. Who's maybe been the biggest influence for you going through such a difficult time to not change who you are as a person?
My mom, she's been here since the beginning, and she pushes me, and when things like get kind of hard, she just told me, you know, it won't be forever. It won't be forever. And, you know, she just told me, you know, look at where you started at, you know, when you first got hurt. And, you know, also people reaching out, telling me how good I'm looking, and, you know, just seeing that I'm inspiring others, you know, it makes me small, you know, it puts a smile on my face, and it just feels good. And also another thing is, you know, positive, you know, keeping positive thoughts will help me, you know, get through this. So I just keep trying to be positive.
Thanks, Bobby.
Joey, you're up.
Hey, Bobby, good to see you again. I guess, what have you learned about yourself most in this last year? I mean, are you doing things that, you know, you didn't know you could do, maybe mentally, during this process?
Right. You know, I learned that I'm strong, you know. I probably wouldn't think I'll be able to, you know, do this, but I mean, here I am doing it. So, you know, it just taught me, also always have a backup plan. You know, I was, you know, just thinking about the NFL, but, you know, I got hurt, you know, and, you know, one door closed, more open. And it just taught me, you know, I'm a strong young man, and I'm, you know, still got goals to reach, and I'll reach them.
Jeremy Werner, you're up. John Supini, you're on deck.
Hey, Bobby, it's great to see you, man. I'm just wondering what motivates you through all of this, through the dark times, through the injuries. What motivates you?
You know, just, you know, having that independence again. You know, I'm not used to having, you know, my mom and everybody caring for me and doing things for me that I can't do, and I can't wait to just be independent again. And also, you know, I got goals. I wanna, you know, travel. I'm not saying this is keeping me from doing that, but, you know, just getting back to what I really want to be and do. And, you know, just seeing that how I used to be. I lost so much weight and I was so weak, and seeing that, you know, you got to put in a lot of work to, you know, get stronger and get back on your feet. And, you know, I love working. I hate sitting around. I hate when they say I can't work out, and, you know, I'm just a go-getter. So
And then just to follow up on Bobby, why do you want to tell your story?
I mean, I just want to show everybody, you know, anything's possible. You know, you could be, you know, on top of the world, and something happen, and, you know, things might not go as planned, but, you know, there's you know, things out there for everybody. And I just want to show everybody that this injury isn't gonna you know, overcome me. I'm gonna beat this, and I'm gonna be successful.
Thanks, Bobby.
John Supini's up, but before we start with John, I'm just Jeremy Bush joined us, and I'm going to, after John asks his question here, maybe ask Jeremy to give a little bit of a perspective as someone who has been with Bobby through this whole process very closely. I know, working with him and talking with him and communicating. But John, go ahead, and then we'll bring Jeremy in for a moment.
Hey, Bobby, this is a question that they often ask on job interviews, but what do you see yourself doing in 5 years from now?
5 years from now, I see myself walking again, you know, traveling with my mom, maybe coaching, and or maybe you know, starting you know a rehab center or something. You know, I want to do something that's gonna help, you know, people, you know, that's been through this. And I want to just show everybody, you know, anything is possible, no matter your situation.
So Jeremy, you know, you've been part of this process really since last May, from the very beginning. Can you put a little bit of perspective of what you've seen Bobby accomplish, and from last year to now, and everything in between, and give us a little bit of a backstory there?
Sure. I tell you, when Bobby first stepped on campus, his freshman year, you saw this natural leader. He had this. I joked with him a lot, and still do to this day. He's got this $1 million smile. Everybody gravitates to him naturally, right? So you kind of knew what you were getting with right away. And then after this injury, you've watched a person that's been truly at the worst point in his life, and he doesn't acknowledge that to where it defeats him, but he acknowledges it to motivate him. So he uses, I mean, he's truly your idea of inspiration and hope on a daily basis. You know, he's gone from the simplest of struggles to absolutely overcoming everything that you put in front of him. He's not one of them. He's right in the fact that he says he doesn't like to sit still and doesn't want to be told that he can't do something. Knocking down my door and blowing my phone up about what we can do and what we have to do and what we still need to get done. And every day is an inspiration for me when just talking to Bobby, because he will push the limits at all times. He is going to push himself. He is never satisfied. So he's got a natural born gift, and that's truly been probably the biggest blessing for us all, to watch that blossom and truly motivate everybody around him. So it's amazing to watch him persevere through his rehab, through his daily journey, and just him to be able to take a step back and watch it. It's truly amazing to see where he came from in the beginning to where he's at now. But again, that started well before all of this. You saw that's who he is to his core, which obviously is the best asset all throughout this.
Thank you.
Kent, you're muted.
Thanks. We'll open it up for Jeremy and Bobby as questions come along. Gavin, good, you're up. Kedrick, you're on deck.
Hey, Bobby, it's amazing to see and hear from you. I'm just wondering, Coach Smith said he was with you in the days after your accident in the hospital. And I'm just wondering what that meant to you and what that was like having him there for you. Thanks.
It meant a lot. It meant a lot. He was probably, having had a lot going on, and he, came and spent some nights with me, and was there for my family during this hard time. And it meant a lot having, your head coach and your coaching staff and your trainers there. It felt good because they put whatever they had to aside to be with me, and it felt good.
Kedrick?
Hey,
And
Bobby,
then Evan's on deck.
It's good to see you again. Quick question. Can you talk about the support that the university has given you, whether it be, your hospital stay or just the media? I mean, they've done a really good job of making sure people don't forget about you. What does that mean to you, the support that you receive from the University of Illinois in general?
With everybody still behind me and pushing me, that makes me want to go harder as well. And the support, everybody donating and, everybody, doing fundraisers, that just means a lot, just having that support, because, I don't have $1 million to, help me through this all. And them, giving their last pennies to help me out, that's just a lot of love right there. And I appreciate everybody for that.
Hey, Bobby, good to hear from you.
Scott Rich, you'll be on deck.
Question, I guess maybe both of you guys can answer. Is there something physically that Bobby's been able to do up to this point that maybe they didn't think he'd be able to do only a year after his injury?
Yeah, I mean, I've been told I'm going against the odds. Even when I was in the hospital, at Shirley Ryan, I had a therapist pull me to the side and said, nobody thought I'd be moving this quickly, or even in a manual chair, pushing myself around. And they just told me, whatever goal you have, just keep it, because they didn't expect this to be this soon. So, and when somebody tells me I can't do something, I'll prove them wrong and show them I'll be able to do it. It might take me a couple tries, but I'm gonna do it.
To piggyback on that, I'll tell you, when the accident first happened and we transitioned into a different hospital, they said, we need to lay out some realistic expectations. And I said, no, you don't. You don't know who you're getting your hands on here. I said, you better raise your expectations pretty quick. And then we moved him up to Shirley Ryan, and we had that same conversation. And I said it again. And I said, you better raise your expectations, because he's wired differently. And to his testament, we moved him back down to campus, and we had that same conversation again. I said, we need to continue to raise that bar. You better raise your expectations, because we don't live under those same limitations. And he does it on a daily basis. That's who he is, and he's going to push the envelope with everybody. He'll make everybody else around him better. He's going to get the best out of himself.
Okay, Scott Ritchie, and then Marlee, you're on deck.
Hey, Bobby. It's good to talk with you. I was just curious, do you think back much about the accident and maybe the time immediate after that at all? I mean, does that ever enter your mind?
I just think about where I was when I couldn't, barely raise my hand or anything like that. But other than that, like, it's just pushing forward. I try not to, remember what happened, a year ago, or, any of that, because I want to think positive. I don't want to have no negative thoughts.
Okay. I guess maybe a follow up. You talked about, the support you gotten from the coaches and the staff, and just how important have your teammates been, in this past year, just maybe just in being there for you, and then also, what do you feel like maybe you've been able to help them with, even if you weren't playing this past season, but just to maybe as a motivator.
Just seeing me in the shoes I am, and me being there, trying to cheer them on, I think helped them take their game to another level. And having the team I have now, I wouldn't trade them for anything. They've been very supportive, and they know I'm gonna work, and I know they'll work. We got each other's backs, and they've been, some of them, spending the nights in the hospital when I was in Chicago. Taking the time out their Fridays or Saturdays or even Sundays to come see me. It meant a lot to me. I didn't have to always be in the hospital by myself. Even though my mom was there and my family was always there with me, seeing some of the guys come, just 5-10 minutes, it felt, it was just a blessing to me to, have my coaches and teammates and trainers come check me out, just see how I was doing, see where I was with everything. And, I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Okay, Marlee, and then Steve Greenberg's on deck.
So the first couple weeks, I was kind of, I wasn't really in my right mindset. I was on a lot of medicine, but my family kept coming and was like, you're special. You gotta work. You gonna get through this. And my family spending the night with me, and when I first seen how much weight I lost, it 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 did something to me where I wanted to, get back to, being that big dude on campus, and not being used to this, it just made me want to go harder to get back to being on my feet, being independent, So yeah, uh, I lost 70 pounds, and now I'm at 260. So this is the most weight I ever weighed. But I mean, it's not all bad weight, so I'm thankful for that. And I'm actually on a diet, trying to trim it down a little bit. So Thank you.
Okay, Steve Greenberg, and then Jim Cotter after that.
Hi, Bobby. First, I want to know if anyone can sort of tell us where Bobby's at now, what his condition is now, what we should write or how we should put it. And then I have a follow-up. Can anybody answer that for us?
I think that's a Jeremy question, maybe a little bit can help with that.
Yeah, Stephen, he had a spinal cord injury, and from a progression wise, I tell you, he's far ahead of schedule in terms of what he's trying to do and what we're trying to accomplish. So, not to get into greater detail after that, I would tell you every day is he continues to break down another barrier and accomplish another new goal. So I tell you, any goal that we continue to set for him, he will obtain it. So someday when he talks about all of those, someday we'll have another whole conversation, maybe a year from now, 2 years from now, what that looks like. We don't know, but we'll have down the road, we'll have another conversation about all the goals that he continues to accomplish.
Okay. And for Bobby, have there been moments, milestones, or just epiphanies, any moments for you, something you were able to do, something you thought of, something somebody said that you really rallied around yourself, that were the most important things that have happened for you in this year since? Anything jump to mind?
One thing that, that's always been in the back of my head since I got hurt was God gives his hardest battles to his strongest warriors. And, it was the reason why I got hurt. And, anybody else, I don't think everybody could handle this as I am. So, I'm grateful that I'm still here and able to get strong every day. And I'm grateful to have, my family, my mom, and, my team, and, the whole Illini nation, behind me, and, it's gonna happen.
Okay, Jim Cotter, and then Patrick will be after that.
Bobby, I know you spent quite a bit of time up in Chicago rehabbing at the hospital, and your teammates and coaches that would come up and visit you from time to time surely lifted your spirits. What was your feeling like when you finally got back down to campus and was around those guys on a more regular basis?
Oh, it felt great, being out of the hospital, just being in my not my territory, but my environment that I was used to. It felt great. And then going to see them lift and run, and going to a couple of meetings, being around the coaches, it felt good because I was finally out of the hospital. It's been forever, so it felt great, and then being in there, everybody wants to see how I'm doing. It felt great.
And as a brief follow-up question to that, upon your first view of the Smith Center, when you finally were able to go in there, what was your initial reaction on that, since you hadn't seen it with everybody else?
Oh, well, my first thought was, where my picture at? Because all the other guys had pictures everywhere on the big screen and all that. But I mean, other than that, it was amazing. Seeing the old, football locker room and everything, and then seeing the new one, it's amazing. It was great, and I had to take a moment and look at my locker. I mean, it was just mind blowing to me. I haven't seen anything that nice, so it was a blessing to be there and seeing everything. I love that place.
Okay, Patrick, you're up, and then Mark Pearson from Channel 17 will be after that on deck.
Thanks. Bobby, a lot of people going through some adversity right now with the pandemic. What is something you'd say to your teammates or people who are just having a hard time right now to keep on going and fight the adversity?
You know, it's a reason for everything, and hard times don't last forever. You know, there's people out there that has things worse than them. Um, so I mean, just be grateful for what you got going on and keep pushing through it. You know, it won't last forever. Um, and just find something throughout your day that, you know, that's positive, that's gonna keep you going. You know, gotta stay hungry. You gotta keep that juice. That's all I said.
Okay, Mark Pearson, followed by Mike Pearson. We'll get the Pearsons out.
Hey, Bobby. Hope all is well. My question is, what was the most difficult thing that you've had to deal with mentally or physically, while overcoming this during rehab?
So when I got hurt, I didn't know what this injury was. I didn't know it was gonna take, you know, some time to get back to where I want to be. So, you know, that when once a month or two went by, I was like, wow, it's gonna take longer than I expected. So that's a hard thing. And I'm sorry, what was this other thing?
No, yeah, you hit that perfectly. It just, what was the most hard thing to kind of, comprehend and deal with during the rehab process? So, no, you hit that right on the head. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Mark, did you have a follow-up?
Nope, I'm all set. Thank you.
Okay, Mike Pearson, and then Julian Darnell, if you have a question.
Hey, Bobby, it's good to see you. You aren't the first person to have to go through something like this. The most recently, Ryan Shazier, formerly of Ohio State and now the Steelers, he had a serious injury somewhat into the 2017 season. And I just saw an article recently, 3 years later, he's talking about playing football again. Do you follow other athletes who have gone through what you're going through right now?
No, because everybody's accidents are different. I don't want to look at someone else's and, you know, they might not be making the gains I'm looking for. So I kind of just try to focus on myself and, you know, just keeping positive thoughts, you know, just, you know, one day at a time, you know, long as I'm getting better, you know, better than yesterday or the day before yesterday, you know, that's all I look for.
Can I ask Jeremy a follow-up? The U of I has been a pioneer in the area of rehabilitation, for half a century or more. Has Bobby or have you been working with the folks at the Nugent Center across campus?
You know, when all of this first happened and we started our planning process, it was hard to not think, you know, what a better place for Bobby to be than Champaign. Between the Dres Center and Nugent, that this campus is surrounded with amenities to help him succeed short term, but as well as long term in life. So as we go through this and he continues to stride, yes, there are different entities that we have reached out to on campus that have been more than willing to provide great resources to Bobby in his transition.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Okay, Julian, and then Rob McCauley on deck.
Thanks, Kent. Hi, Bobby. How are you?
Well, how's it going?
Excellent. Bobby, how did the current pandemic, the COVID-19, how did that impact your rehab, and what did you have to go through as far as rehabbing in the midst of a pandemic like this?
Well, I mean, this virus, you know, it took a toll on me because it slowed everything down. You know, I had a few things that I was looking forward to doing, but the virus slowed everything down. And then also, you know, with this virus, it makes everyone kind of nervous for me to go out to, you know, my therapy sessions because, yeah, you know, just with this whole thing, it's scary, but I'm not trying to let it slow me down because, I'm trying to get better every day.
Can I ask a follow-up, Kent? Can I ask a follow-up, Kent? Bobby, I have a follow-up for you. There's a saying, make your mess your message. What is your message as far as what's happened to you this past year?
My message is never a failure, always a lesson. And everything that happened through this whole thing is just making me stronger, and I want to just show everybody that anything is possible. Everything happens for a reason, and just always have open mind to more than just one thing. Don't put your mind just on one thing. Just always have a backup plan, and just try to be the best person you could be.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rob. Just so everybody knows what DRES is. So DRES on the University of Illinois campus stands for the Disability Resources and Educational Services, and it's part of the Tim Nugent's center. All that's part of DRES. Am I correct on that, Jeremy?
You've got it.
Okay, Rob McCauley, and then Mariah will be after that.
I've been following Bobby along just like everybody else, and really surprised by all of your accomplishments so far. I sort of have two questions about that. One, Mike Pearson already sort of started it off because he's still the best, but I wonder if you're participating in any maybe experimental therapies, and I assume because medicine has come so far in the last 100 years, you're probably going to be walking again because you're so young. But what are some of the things that you have going for you that maybe Christopher Reeve didn't 20, 25 years
ago? Right now we're looking into everything. Seeing these new things happening for people with spinal cord injuries, we're just trying to see what's out there and see what could be best for me. But other than that, we're just gonna keep pushing forward until we find the best thing.
And the other half of that is, although I've been paying close attention, I don't know what actually happened to you in the water, or whether you talk about that, or whether you yourself know exactly what happened. And do you have any pointers for water safety for all the kids who've been inspired by you?
I guess just be careful and be responsible and just be careful.
Okay, thanks.
We'll go with Mariah, and then Shannon Ryan will be on deck.
Hi, Bobby. Good to see you're doing well. So a lot of the times you find that people who go through traumatic events in their life see the negative right away, but then they look back and they see that maybe their life needed change at that moment. And with football aside, just looking at who you were as a person, did you feel that your life was on a different trajectory at that time and the accident shifted that in a better way?
I mean, I just feel like more doors open for me. But life doesn't stop because you got hurt or things changed. So I can't just be negative. Time still is going, so I got to make the best of it and try to get back to where I want to be, and just keep pushing.
And just going off that, any injury is obviously detrimental for any athlete in whatever position that they are. And we can obviously see that physically you have been working tremendously to rehabilitate yourself. But what about the inside, the mental aspect, the changes that have come along with this physical struggle? How have you experienced mental struggles and maybe improvement mentally?
It it made me stronger mentally, and it made me think of different things that maybe I wasn't thinking of when before I got hurt. But I mean, it has been challenges, but um, I feel like it's making me like more of a, more matured and more wiser, I feel.
Thank you.
Shannon Ryan, then Bob Rosenthal after that.
Okay, I have two questions if it's okay. Thanks for talking to everybody today, Bobby. I was wondering if you could tell us what you do remember about what happened the day of your accident, and maybe your memories of that and what doctors told you after that.
Um, I'm not really able to speak on the accident, but I just, you know, my mom was just telling me how special I am because what the surgeons told her, that I just been beating the odds ever since because you know, with this injury and the way I, broke things or fractured things, uh, it didn't look too good for me, and you know, everyone's still surprised how far I've come this fast.
I think one of a really memorable part of the season, you would see your teammates seem like almost after every game or big wins talking to you on FaceTime after games. Can you describe one of those conversations, what it was like for you, and just kind of what stood out to you, or what you remember about a certain one of those calls?
Um, Maybe my favorite one was probably when we beat Wisconsin, just because you know I I was calling everybody trying to get in on it, and Io he called me, and I was like, thank God somebody called me, and everybody's just like, this one's for you, and it just felt good that they let me in on the fun because I didn't know who to call because I knew everybody was dancing and turning up, but when one of them called me, it just felt great, and then I don't know that felt great, and then each week every time we won, either I would call somebody before they turned up or somebody would call me, and I mean that just felt great. People in the hospital are looking at me like, what's going on? And I'm like, we won, like, let's go. And I seeing everybody with their juices flowing, it just felt too good.
All right, a lot of good stuff there from Bobby, and just from talking to him and the hour that we did today, you can really gather that he is a strong-willed and determined person that is just going against all odds, and the progress that he's made is incredible. He has videos up on his Twitter page that is kind of been documenting his progress throughout this time, which is really cool to see. So another positive thing is that sports are kind of inching their way back into society one way or another. And I think it's starting this week with the Illinois Athletic Department allowing athletes back on campus starting June 3rd. So they made the announcement this morning, and we spoke to Illinois Athletic Director Josh Whitman about this plan. So pretty much the premise of it is that they're going to kind of stagger how athletes are going to return to campus. So it's going to start with football players and men's basketball players coming back to campus, but in small groups. So the way that they described it was that the first kind of tier of student athletes to return will be the returning players. Then they'll go to the incoming freshmen, incoming first-year athletes, and then the bottom tier will be athletes that were maybe in a hotspot for the COVID-19 virus, just to ensure everybody's safety. Now, They're hoping to have volleyball, soccer, and women's basketball back on campus in July. And so pretty much, they want to ensure the safety of everyone. They're going to include an initial COVID-19 test as well as, ongoing testing for the virus, quarantines as need be. And Josh Whitman said that they're taking a lot of ideas from other organizations that are attempting to do the same thing. So leagues like the NBA, the NFL that are trying to come back and do some type of training. That's what Josh Whitman is trying to do. He's getting ideas from them as well as, local health officials and other professional organizations. He's talked to, obviously, the Illinois Sports Medicine Department to get some guidance on how to move forward with this. And just talking to him for a little bit, he said that this is just kind of a hope, just a beacon of hope for sports fans everywhere that we'll be able to continue, moving on into the fall. Obviously, nothing has been set in stone yet, but I think this is, in my opinion, a good step forward, just for trying to get sports back into society. Now, another important piece of this plan is that Illini athletes are it's on a voluntary basis. So the Illini athletes won't have to come back to campus if they don't feel safe and if they don't want to. These aren't mandatory workouts that the coaches are telling them to come back. Coaches initially won't even be allowed back, considering these are just some sort of off-season training workout. So it's really only going to be things in the weight room. They're not really going to be, getting on the court or the field, touching balls, anything like that. So here's a little bit of what Josh Whitman had to say this afternoon.
Clearly is an important step. It's a step we're excited about. We're not in any way the only sports organization doing this. We've seen it now in a number of different professional sports settings. We've seen it from a variety of colleges and universities here over the last several days, in particular, making announcements of various plans. And like I said, I know for a fact that many of our peers across the Big Ten are also developing theirs and close to putting something in place that looks very similar in terms of timing. But I do think, we always want to be on the front end in terms of providing leadership and a model that others can follow. And we think at the University of Illinois, given the great strengths that we have in the sciences, our new Illinois College of Medicine, a lot of the relationships that we've formed across our community and across the industry, we think that we're in a position to really, to use your term, I think, shine a light on how to do things, how to be innovative, how to be at the front of the pack when it comes to using technology and collaboration to identify solutions to hard problems. And certainly we've seen that play out time and again over the university's history. And if this is another example of that, then I think that's something that the university can be proud of.
And we have Josh Whitman's full interview on our website. If you want to watch the whole hour-long interview, it is available. So that'll do it today for the WCIA 3-in-1 podcast, and we'll see you here next week.